The late Sharon and her unborn child were killed between the night of September 3rd and September 4th, 2018 in Oade, Homa Bay County. Sharon is reported to have been killed after being kidnapped along with a journalist who managed to escape after reportedly jumping from the vehicle they were being transported in. Obado was charged with Sharon's murder on September 24th, 2018. He was held in police custody for several months before being released on bail following an order from the Court of Appeal. 42 people testified in the case. The case will be mentioned on February 25th. Moige William, TV47.
The Kenya Wildlife Service and the Nakuru East Directorate of Criminal Investigations have distanced themselves from the disappearance of one Brian Odhiambo. Senior KWS officer David Oyugi and Nakuru East DCI boss Samuel Ngenywa both appeared in court for questioning, where they stated that they had no knowledge of Brian's whereabouts. His case remains unresolved as investigations continue. Chichi Josephine tells us more.
On Tuesday, January 28th, the Nakuru Law Court ordered the Nakuru East DCI and the senior officer from Kenya Wildlife Services at the Lake Nakuru National Park to produce Brian Odhiambo in court, dead or alive.
Good morning, Sabine.
In response, Kenya Wildlife Services at the Lake Nakuru National Park, along with the Nakuru East Directorate of Criminal Investigations, denied knowing the whereabouts of Brian Odhiambo, a fisherman who was allegedly arrested by KWS officers on January 18th and has not been seen since. Appearing before Honorable Justice Julius Nangea, KWS Senior Officer David Oyugi and Nakuru East DCI Samuel Ngenywa repeatedly denied being aware of Brian Odhiambo's whereabouts.
I wish to confirm to this Honorable Court that I do not know the whereabouts of Brian Odhiambo Makori.
I just need you to confirm. It was your officers who arrested.
No, my lord.
Not your officers.
My lord, we have a suspect whom we arrested, but not Brian Odhiambo.
During his cross-examination, DCI Nakuru East Samuel Ngenywa noted that as the officer in charge of the investigations, he recorded statements of 6 witnesses who, according to his analysis, were all accusing the KWS.
I analyzed the evidence of the 6 witnesses that I had recorded, and all the witnesses were pointing at KWS officers, Your Honor.
Ngenywa also revealed that several steps have been taken, including sending letters to Safaricom and Airtel for call data.
The first letter was addressed to Safaricom Limited to provide us with call data of mobile number.
However, when Brian's number was traced, they were found to have been switched off at 4:07 p.m. at Karunga towards Gilgil and separately at 1:51 p.m. around the State House Nakuru.
One was switched off at Nakuru. The time was 1:51 p.m.
On his part, KWS senior officer at the Lake Nakuru National Park, David Oyugi, denied knowing who the person in question was, as well as his whereabouts, noting that he is only aware of 10 suspects arrested in the park.
And I am aware of a total of 10 suspects who were arrested.
However, the defense expressed their dissatisfaction with the responses by the accused persons, thereby calling on the court to summon the 6 officers said to have arrested Brian, as well as officers from Safaricom and Airtel. The judge, however, sought to have more time to look into the matter. The ruling will be made on February 6, 2025. Chichi Josephine, TV47.
Now, over to a story that's been hitting the headlines over the last week or so. Tensions remain high in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo as violent clashes between government forces and M23 rebels continue. According to the United Nations, at least 22 UN peacekeepers have been injured and hundreds of thousands of civilians have been displaced. Meanwhile, diplomatic tensions have also escalated, with Rwandan President Paul Kagame criticizing South African President Cyril Ramaphosa at the recent EAC Heads of State Summit, which Democratic Republic of Congo's Felix Tshisekedi refused to attend. George Maringa has the latest.
And South Africa dares even issue threats about what is likely to happen after that and so on and so forth.
A seemingly fiery Paul Kagame at the EAC Extraordinary Heads of State Summit following the crisis in the DRC. President William Ruto, who is the EAC chairman, had invited Rwanda's Paul Kagame and DRC's Felix Tshisekedi to the said meeting, which happened virtually. However, the latter declined the invite. Rwanda has been accused of backing the M23 or M23 rebel group, which has seized control of Goma, including the airport. And that accusation has gotten Rwanda's President Paul Kagame very, very upset.
That these are from Rwanda, or the M23 are not Rwandans, please. These are Congolese, and one time he accepts it, then another time he says no, part of it is yes, and then the other part is from Rwanda, and these are he keeps on going. And how do we, leaders of our own countries, accept this to go on forever and just accept that we shall be manipulated by Tshisekedi or whoever is supporting him?
Tshisekedi did not take it lying down. In a televised address to the nation on Thursday, while speaking in French, Tshisekedi noted, and I quote, an unprecedented worsening of security situation, further saying that the army is fully mobilized against M23. Tshisekedi did not shy away of condemning Rwanda, saying, and I quote, be sure of one thing, the Democratic Republic of Congo will not let itself be humiliated or crushed. We will fight and we will triumph, end of quote.
Est une provocation inacceptable à l'égard de notre souveraineté et de la stabilité régionale.
Locals in Bukavu say they are living in fear as clashes continued between the army and the M23 militants in the east of the DRC. DRC troops are fighting with M23 militants in the east of the country, with a group reporting that it had taken control of Goma on Monday. The DRC claims the M23 is backed by Rwanda and cut its ties with Rwanda on Saturday last week, claiming Kigali had sent troops over the border. Around a dozen UN peacekeepers have been killed in the latest clashes. Kigali has not commented on claims about troops or support for M23, but has blamed the DRC for the escalation in fighting. The conflict in the east involves around 100 armed groups within the region rich in gold, cassiterite, coltan, cobalt and diamonds.
Hii problemu ya Nord Kivu tulikuwa tunapata sombe kutoka hivi maharagi. Sasa bakisha sema kama na hivi nako manake hapa tutateseka.
Last year, the UN reported that the number of internally displaced persons in the DRC had risen to 7.2 million, making it one of the largest displaced populations globally. As the clashes escalate, one question remains. Will peace and calm ever return to the DRC? Time will tell. George Maringa, TV47, Nairobi.
And as this happens, the government has sought to ease concerns that the ongoing conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo could hurt Raila Odinga's chances of securing the African Union Commission chairmanship. Foreign Affairs Principal Secretary Dr. Korir Sing'oei insists that Kenya remains committed to an all-inclusive dialogue, despite DRC President Felix Tshisekedi refusing an invitation from President Ruto to discuss de-escalation efforts for DRC. Meanwhile, Raila's allies have warned President Ruto against making diplomatic missteps that could cost Kenya crucial votes. Apollo Kamau tells us more.
With just about 2 weeks to go to the African Union Commission vote in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, the ongoing conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo has caused jitters among a section of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's allies, as the conflict could cost Kenya the Francophone vote, depending on how President William Ruto handles the crisis. Saboti MP Caleb Amisi raised the concerns on his X account, cautioning President William Ruto not to tinker with Congo by committing geopolitical blunders and mess up with Congo, Burundi, Angola, Mozambique, Namibia, and possibly Rwanda. The conflict has already put Kenya in a fix after President William Ruto spoke to President Emmanuel Macron of France, a diplomatic blunder, according to critics, as France is accused by DRC of having a hand in the conflict by supporting Rwanda-backed M23 rebels.
Ruto has not been very good at it. He has not been. And because of that, it becomes difficult. He tends to bulldoze his way. And as he does it domestically, he might make the mistake of thinking he can do the same internationally. And then that backfires.
DRC President Felix Tshisekedi, who has had a tense diplomatic relationship with President Ruto since his days as deputy president, snapped the talks convened by Ruto and instead attended a SADC summit in Zimbabwe. Congo accuses Kenya of supporting Rwanda in the conflict that has also seen Rwanda clash with South Africa.
Southern Africa, many of the countries are likely to go with South Africa, whichever position that it takes. There was time when Ruto and Ramaphosa looked as if they were good friends. Now there is a doubt. After all, the South Africans replaced the Kenyans in Congo. How that was done is another matter, but it was kind of a vote of no confidence on Kenya.
Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Korir Sing'oei, has allayed fears the DRC conflict could hurt Odinga's chances, saying, and I quote, Kenya's position on the DRC conflict is an all-inclusive dialogue. How can this hurt our candidate? With Nairobi yet to have a substantive ambassador in Kinshasa, the DRC conflict has already seen allies and rivals taking sides in the conflict, which might spill over to the vote in Addis. Apul Kamau, TV47.
Now shifting gears from politics and geopolitics to agriculture. And the Agriculture CS Mutahi Kagwe has officially launched a livestock vaccination campaign targeting foot and mouth disease and PPR in Laikipia North. Speaking during the campaign, Kagwe urged farmers to embrace the vaccine, assuring them that thorough government research has been undertaken. As Ruga Ival reports, locals have welcomed the initiative, viewing it as a major relief from the high costs of vaccination. Let's take a look.
After a prolonged and fierce resistance from many Kenyan farmers, the first batch of vaccines has been administered to cows and goats in Laikipia County. Despite government assurances about their safety, led by the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture Mutahi Kagwe, a pivotal moment unfolded as the nationwide livestock vaccination campaign officially began. The event saw a diverse group of attendees, with farmers from various backgrounds coming together to witness the vaccination process by veterinary experts.
Hakuna kiongozi ambaye anajua anafanya nini, anaweza ingia kwa jamii awaambie watumie chanjo ambalo sio mzuri.
The campaign aims to vaccinate about 22 million cattle and 50 million sheep and goats over the next 3 years, targeting diseases such as foot and mouth and PPR, both of which are classified as trade sensitive by the World Organization for Animal Health.
I believe it was a communication breakdown. It is not a refusal. The propaganda came out of lack of knowledge, ambao watu hawajui ni kitu gani wanasema. Tukivaccinate hizi ng'ombe every 6 months for a period of 3 years ama 4 years. Sasa itakuwa hakuna haja ya vaccinate tena. Hiyo disease itakuwa imekwisha.
During the launch, CS Kagwe emphasized the participation in the campaign is voluntary and highlighted the potential benefits for farmers. Additionally, Principal Secretary for Agriculture Jonathan Mweke announced that subsidies will be rolled out to help cushion the livelihoods of farmers.
Hii vaccination wapate hata subsidy ya chakula ya ng'ombe ile wakati ya kiangazi.
The government faces a significant challenge in convincing skeptical farmers who are concerned that the vaccines may harm their animals.
Onyesha ile vaccine yenyewe ndio hii. Na huyu ndio anatengeneza huyu vaccine. It is this one. Sio ingine, na ni ya Kevavapi, and they are the ones who are manufacturing this vaccine.
All that, the campaign is part of a larger scheme driven by foreign interest. As the campaign progresses, addressing these concerns and educating the public about the benefits of vaccination will be crucial to ensuring its success. Roga Evil, TV47.
The Health Principal Secretary, Harry Kimutai, has withdrawn a case against Grace Njoki Mulay, a 61-year-old woman accused of causing a disturbance during Health CS Deborah Barrasa's press briefing last week. Kimutai made the announcement while appearing before lawmakers at the ongoing National Assembly midterm retreat in Naivasha. Willie Dennis Njiru reports.
Tension ran high during the midterm parliamentary retreat in Naivasha, setting the stage for a heated debate on the Social Health Authority program, SHA. Health Principal Secretary Hilary Kimutai had a difficult time explaining to members of parliament the circumstances surrounding the arrest of Grace Njoki, a 61-year-old woman who was charged with allegedly disturbing a meeting held by Cabinet Secretary Deborah Barrasa last week.
On the issue of the patient who came to petition the Minister of Health, honorable members will take note, and I think I said it's true, we had that system downtime at that particular time, and specifically where we had a big challenge was KNH, Kenyatta National Hospital, and that issue was addressed. The only, I think, what the police or the DCI have come to do is the chaos that the patient came to cause at the ministry.
The MPs mounted pressure on PS Kimutai to clarify the exact offence Njoki had committed by visiting a public office to express her frustrations over challenges in the implementation of Social Health Authority program.
You have acknowledged there was a problem. Why is that woman being arrested? I am asking the police, please arrest the people who disrupted the system. They are the ones who are causing disturbance by disrupting the system. Not a woman who is seeking assistance.
The lawmakers further decried the lack of transparency with SHA system, particularly payment rates across different hospitals, a situation that has forced patients and their families to incur additional medical expenses.
Every treatment has a cost that has been costed by SHA. Anything over and above, you pay that.
So far, the SHA insurance scheme has registered a total of 18 million people, with PS Kimutai stating that the Ministry of Health is working on strategies to clear the debt inherited from NHIF, a move expected to improve healthcare services in the country.
SHA is making progress to ensure that we clear the outstanding debts. We have given directives to SHA as a ministry to undertake audits to confirm the total outstanding debts that belong to the facilities.
For TV47, I'm Willie Dennis Njiru.
All right, on that point, we want to take a short break. We'll be right back with more content. Please stay with us.
Are
you ready to elevate your business game?
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
Kama wewe ni mfanyabiashara, huwezi kaa bure, unajipanga taratibu vile inavyofaa.
Join us each week as we dive into the stories of the world's most driven entrepreneurs.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
The Grind, where business meets brilliance. Tune in every Monday at 7:30 p.m. because your business deserves the best.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2. What position were you? Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Are you ready to elevate your business game?
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
Kama wewe ni mfanyabiashara, huwezi kaa bure, unajipanga taratibu vile inavyofaa.
Join us each week as we dive into the stories of the world's most driven entrepreneurs.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
The Grind, where business meets brilliance. Tune in every Monday at 7:30 p.m. because your business deserves the best.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2. What position were you? Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Welcome back. If you're joining us right now, this is the Daily Report with me, Victor Muyakane, and of course, Rhoda Nyamai on sign language. Now, shortly after the High Court suspended the Kenya National Examinations Council's plan to conduct KCSE exams every July, Education PS Belio Kipsang reassured students that those who registered for the exams would not be disadvantaged. The petitioners argue that the decision lacked public participation and violates students' rights. Anastasia Mukabi tells us more on this story.
After the High Court suspended the Kenya National Examinations Council's plan to give candidates who failed or missed previous exams due to illness or other unavoidable circumstances a second chance to sit for KCSE scheduled for every month in July until 2027. Responding to this, the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers KUPPET officials claimed that a section of teachers were concerned with the discrimination that the private candidates would have met.
Teachers were really worried about the kind of discrimination that the private candidates would have met when they are not being, when they are denied instructions to better their grades.
KUPPET Acting Secretary General Moses Ndurima also said that it is unfair how candidates are being charged 7,200 Kenya shillings to register for the examination, particularly in these difficult economic times.
The distance traveled by the learners to go and do the exams. Secondly, these learners, the ones who have repeated, should have had an opportunity also to take instruction throughout the year.
At the opening of grade 9 classrooms at Moi Forces Academy in Nairobi County, the Principal Secretary of Education, Belio Kipsang, claimed that the court's ruling denied candidates a second chance, adding that those who registered would take the test even if it's not in July.
As you are all aware, we intended to have 2 series of examinations in a year. So in no way will it disadvantage our learners. The only thing is that we are denying the country and our learners an opportunity to be able to get a second chance in the fastest way that was possible.
Anastasia Mukabi, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, the debate over constituency boundary delimitation is causing division in the political arena, with uncertainty looming over whether the constitutional requirement can be met before the next general election. The delay is due to a lack of substantive electoral commission officers, despite the presence of a selection panel. Experts argue that the most viable solution within the remaining time is to support the National Assembly's proposal to extend the delimitation period. Our senior political reporter Elizabeth Mutuku has the details on this debate.
The reality of boundary delimitation, as mandated by Article 89, Section 2 of the Constitution, is hitting the political class hard. The crucial exercise seemingly unlikely to take place as planned, and even if it does, it could potentially make the situation even messier than it is already.
In July 2024, as IBC will file a reference requesting an advisory opinion from the Supreme Court on how to proceed, taking into account the lapsed constitutional timelines and absence of commissioners necessary for the electoral process. The matter is still pending before the Supreme Court.
According to the Constitution, the IEBC is required to review the names of boundaries of the constituencies at least once after every 8 years, but not more than every 12 years. Any review must be completed at least 12 months before a general election. The Commission has the authority to determine the names and the boundaries of constituencies, as well as periodically review the number, names, and boundaries of county assembly wards.
When you argue it from what the practical requirements of the action are, then it's going to be nearly impossible. Why? Because first, boundary delimitations are a very emotive issue. You're telling members of a certain constituency that based on our math, our mathematics, you don't fit to be in this constituency, we are moving you to the other constituency, or we are forming a new constituency. And you know the issue about power play and what the issue of votes does to an election.
Pundits suggest that amending the constitution to extend the period for the boundary delimitation by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC) beyond the current timeframe could be a potential solution. However, Speaker of the National Assembly Moses Masika Wetangula argues that with the delay, the IEBC could consider redistribution of population within existing constituencies. County boundaries, on the other hand, can only be altered through a resolution recommended by an independent ad hoc commission specifically set up by Parliament for that purpose.
Now, if they never met that criteria, they were declared, they are supposed to be declared not functional constituencies now. So there's still an entire judicial issues about how do we deal with that particular issue now that we have not delimited the boundaries. If you are going to push this thing to 10 to 20 years, which will mean that the upper limit is going to be 2032, the politicians going to see the wisdom of trying to make some changes now before the 2027 elections, or are they going to wait until, because it's a political process?
Article 129 of the Constitution mandates the IEBC to merge constituencies and propose new ones, increase the number of wards from the current 1,450 as long as the number of constituencies remains fixed at 290. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, folks, let's have a look at a matter that's close to many people's hearts. The International Crane Foundation has raised an alarm over the declining population of the grey-crowned crane, a species critically endangered by climate change and human activity. The foundation highlighted a significant drop in crane numbers, urging for immediate conservation measures. Let's have a look at this story.
The grey-crowned crane, an iconic bird species in Kenya, is facing a worrying decline. According to the International Crane Foundation's country manager, Joseph Mwangi, the population has decreased from 36,000 in 1986 to just 10,000 birds today.
We have been seeing poisoning and persecution of the species because of the interaction with farmland and cropland. So there is perceived crop damage, and as a retaliatory, we've been encountering increasing poisoning and persecution.
Wetlands, the primary habitat for these birds, are rapidly being converted into farmland, threatening the survival of the grey-crowned crane. Farmers, often unaware of the ecological significance of these areas, have contributed to the crisis.
Where farmers are going into wetland, viewing them as wastelands and encroaching on that to increase the size of the land they are farming. And because of that, we have lost habitat for cranes breeding, and also we have lost habitat for where cranes can flock.
Farmers living near wetlands in counties such as Nandi and Uasin Gishu are being trained in sustainable agricultural practices, including planting animal feed, indigenous tree cultivation, and setting up beehives for alternative incomes.
Tutakwenda training, tukafunzwa tutunze wetlands, ndio kirongo sasa sikue wengi, wetland ikue safe, ndio tuame sasa huku. Sasa after kuama huku, una realize unaweza kuwa na kitchen garden kidogo but inakuanga na mboga aina. Sasa hiyo ndio imeturudisha turudi sasa huku kwa kitchen garden. Tusiende tena huko karibu wetlands. Tukiharibu wetlands, tunaharibu everything.
According to the latest survey, Uasin Gishu County hosts the highest number of grey-crowned cranes, with 2,227 recorded across 78 sites. Nyandarua follows with 969 cranes, while other populations are found in counties like Nandi, Trans Nzoia and Laikipia.
We are losing a lot of our wetlands because of erratic rainfall, clearing of water towers and also draining for agriculture.
To strengthen conservation efforts, the foundation has recommended a wet season survey to map breeding pairs. Additionally, crane ringing exercises in counties such as Nandi, Trans Nzoia and Uasin Gishu are enabling researchers to monitor movements and improve population data. By deterring grazing in wetlands and promoting sustainable farming, these initiatives are empowering farmers to protect the crane's habitat while enhancing their livelihoods.
Avocado. Sasa hii ni biashara, tunafanya biashara nao. Sasa tukiuza hiyo, si hakuna haja kuingia kwa ndani. Umepata nyasi nepia, super nepia, tunatumia tunalisha ng'ombe huko, hakuna ng'ombe ikuja huko ndani kwa sababu ya korongo. Hapo tumeona tuna benefit kwa hiyo.
Nimeshapanda avocado. Hii avocado nilipanda 27. Lakini ile ilifona ni 5 because of sijaelewa vile inatengenezwa inde ikuje mpaka ikiro. Lakini sasa kwa hii niko naye nimepata paita mingi. Kwa sasa nikivuna once navuna around 170 kilos na per kilo ni 100. Hiyo ni 17,000 and nivuna 3 times a year.
Conservation programs like this highlight the need to balance human activity with the preservation of nature. For the International Crane Foundation, the ultimate goal is to restore the population of grey-crowned cranes and ensure their survival for generations to come.
The farmer is benefiting, but how we are also benefiting. So we really need to see the pairs breeding more every year, because now we want, as I said, the juvenile population is very low. We want to see that recruitment into adulthood 100%.
An urgent call to action. Protecting wetlands and supporting sustainable farming practices are vital steps to ensure the grey-crowned crane remains a vibrant part of our ecosystem and heritage. Sheila Chelangat for TV47.
Folks, on 2nd of February, which is just a few days down the road, the world celebrates World Wetlands Day. And this is a significant thing. And that's why tonight we have Wambui with us to help us understand a little bit more about this. So the World Wetlands Day 2025 is focused on wetlands and people. First of all, Wambui, talk to us. Why do wetlands matter?
Thank you so much, and of course for having me here today to speak about matters of environmental importance, social and economic importance as well. And I believe, start of our conversation, I believe our audience should know what wetlands are.
Yes, please.
Because I think these are resources that people normally come across each and every day, but they don't know what they are. So basically, wetlands are resources that are found when water bodies the water tables are above the surface of the land. And basically, you find there are different categories of wetlands. Some are found in the coastal areas, such as mangrove. You find that there are swamps. We have lakes, we have rivers. And these are all categories of wetlands that we found on a daily basis.
Oh, great. And so can you paint a picture for us of why wetlands are essential to Kenya's environmental, economic, and even the community health?
True. And I think to categorize it in different aspects, we're looking at how do we look at wetlands as an economical value to our country. We've seen wetlands such as Lake Nakuru, Bogoria. They serve as a good tourist sites, and these are sites that normally attract so much tourism. And when you look at the GDP of Kenya at the moment, the economic sector, or rather the tourism sector, it normally has around 5 to 10% of the country's GDP. So you can imagine the tourism sector that the wetlands, of course, are attributing to wetlands, that they bring to the economic value of the country.
Yeah.
So there's so much that you can be able to see apart from just economic value, but also environmentally. And we've seen that communities, for example, those who live around Ondiri Swamp, for example, it's a wetland.
Or the one in Kikuyu?
Yes. It's normally served as a potential places where, communities access water. We have around 60 residents from Kikuyu and even its outskirts, having access to water because of this Ondiri Swamp.
Right.
And beside that, we've seen that there's also a very good opportunities where, communities can be able to work around their livelihoods. And we've seen agricultural activities being carried out because Ondiri Swamp is actually being able to serve the communities and also the environment at the same time.
Right. Now, Wambui, across the world, as some of you may know, things are changing. We're losing forests, we're losing wetlands as well. But it looks like wetlands are disappearing faster, 3 times faster than the forests. Can you help us understand what the situation is in Kenya? Are we winning or losing the battle to protect our wetlands?
Well, maybe just to give a statistic of the number of wetlands we have in Kenya and then be able to see the trajectory of where we're headed to. Right now, currently, we have 10,000 wetlands in Kenya, and only 6 of those wetlands have been recognized under the Ramsar Convention of Wetlands, which was adopted back in 1971. And of course, looking at where we've been and where we are right now, the number of wetlands are actually decreasing in terms of drying up. And looking forward, we are seeing that this number of wetlands are decreasing because of the impact of climate change. Human activities are also, such as of exploitation of resources. We've seen how issues of sand harvesting is also affecting our wetlands. And of course, looking at in the future, we might be able to look at a case where we do not have wetlands. We are looking at dry countries, and even the word water scarcity is going to go beyond calling it water scarcity to now a situation where we do not have enough water.
Kabisa, completely.
Yeah, completely.
So to you, we're losing the battle. All right. Now, they say the theme for this year is wetlands and people. But how are Kenyan communities directly affected by wetland conservation or destruction? I know you've touched on economic activities such as tourism and agriculture and so on. But can you give us perhaps a case study of an area that's been deeply affected either by the destruction of wetlands or by the conservation of them?
Well, I'll give an example of an area that we, as an organization, Africa Water Ambassadors, we've been able to highlight the issues in this specific river. So I'll give an example of River Kibos.
River Kibos is in Nyanza,
Kisumu. Yeah, in
right.
Kisumu. And we participated in a campaign called the Journey of Water campaign that is spearheaded by the World Wide Fund Kenya. And we participated in this.
Sounds interesting, the Journey of Water.
Yeah, the Journey of Water campaign. So basically this campaign is normally tracking the issues that this river is, going through, but rather tracking the journey of this river, basically journey of water. So along the way, we work with stakeholders and identify some of the issues and the pressing issues that this river is, going through, and we are able to see communities carrying out sustainable practices, for example, sand harvesting, and we are able to see how that is also destroying our riparian zone, and looking at how do we also give these communities sustainable livelihoods to be able to move forward. We just don't condemn them for the practices that they're carrying out, but also give them an alternative. Now, when it comes to now giving, when looking at a conservation aspect of view, we are looking at how do we also promote, alternative livelihood, and we're thinking of fruit trees. And a good example is planting the fruit trees along this riparian zone and replacing that with now their sustainable practices called sand harvesting, like I mentioned, that we had identified.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Now, we're heading into the home stretch of this conversation, but I wouldn't want to let you go without you telling us a few things that are quite critical, if we may. So quickly, as well as you can, is Kenya's environmental policy or Kenyan environmental policies, are they strong enough to protect our wetlands? And if not, what key changes would you make?
Well, in comes to wetlands, I think we are falling short of the policies. And even I came to realize that we actually just adopting an initiative called the Freshwater Challenge. It's a global initiative, but countries are just beginning to adopt it.
Now,
so we actually, right now. So we are looking at the speed at which we are carrying out, or rather we are adopting these policies at a slow rate, but also the impact at which we are being impacted by the impact of climate change is also at a very faster rate. So I'm looking at again, understanding how we can also be able to work together with the national government, supporting them to be able to implement this initiative that are just, these policies that they're coming up right now, and even looking at some of the gaps that we have and identifying how do we move forward with these policy gaps, giving solutions to them as well. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, one more thing. You've talked about policy, you've talked about national government, county government, and big organizations such as the one you're working with. But what can you and I, the regular Mwananchi, the people who are watching us at home, what role can ordinary Kenyans play in terms of conservation of wetlands?
Well, when it comes to, we talk about the roles, let's even take, we bring this conversation home. In a few days, we're having the World Wetlands Day. This is an opportunity for the normal Mwananchi to be able to take part in the conservation of wetlands. Okay. And it will be happening at Ondiri. This is a good opportunity for a champion, even a non-environmentalist who have not even been able to have be part of this conversation, to be able to start seeing how we can be able to work together as a whole of this society to be able to look at providing solutions to these, these issues that are talking about our wetlands, sinking and all that and drying up.
So if someone is asking, what can I do? What would you tell them in 3 words?
Well, I'll give an example of digital advocacy. This is just as simple as putting a hashtag on your social media, identify the issues, and also propose what we can do as a government, as a community, as a young people. These are resources that are just here with us. We can be able to leverage on what we have at the moment, and it doesn't take much for you to be able to do it.
All right. Thank you, Omboy. As I leave you, if you had 30 seconds to convince a skeptic, someone who doesn't believe in all these things, the climate change things and all, you have 30 seconds to convince them about why wetlands deserve urgent protection. 30 seconds. What would you say? And there's your camera. Speak to them. They're out there.
Well, thank you so much, our audience. For me, I would like to give a challenge. The resources that you see around you are what you benefit from, either socially, economically, or environmentally. And this is an opportunity for you as a person to be able to see how you can be able to take up initiatives, for you to be able to support even the local government and even CBOs that are working in your area to be able to work around protecting our wetlands. These are resources that you should be able to see as attach a value to it for you to be able to see that you don't just the current generations that are benefiting from it, but also the future generations.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Omboy. I appreciate you.
For having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, World Wetlands Day. It is happening on the 2nd of February, just a few days from now. And I believe you've been properly convinced as to why we need these resources. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we will have some sporting action for you. And later on, your weekly turbocharged sporting action show, VAR, in a moment.
Wow.
Are you ready to elevate your business game?
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
Kama wewe ni mfanyabiashara, huwezi kaa bure, unajipanga taratibu vile inavyofaa.
Join us each week as we dive into the stories of the world's most driven entrepreneurs.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
The Grind, where business meets brilliance. Tune in every Monday at 7:30 p.m. because your business deserves the best.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Sports News brought to you by Maybets.
Right, folks, time for sports. The 2025 World Rally Championship Safari Rally has received a major financial boost, with Kenya Commercial Bank injecting 209 million shillings into the annual motorsport event. The sponsorship deal was unveiled today at a ceremony in Nairobi. The 4-day rally, one of Kenya's most celebrated sporting events, will kick off on March 20th, 2025 and conclude on March 23rd in Naivasha. As part of the sponsorship, 4 local drivers will compete under the KCB banner. Of course, our sports reporter Boniface Kimanzi has the details.
Since the return of the WRC Safari Rally in Kenya, KCB has invested 800 million shillings. On Thursday morning in Nairobi, the bank unveiled their 209 million shillings sponsorship for the third round of the 2025 World Rally Championship.
This year is going to be spectacular, and that is why today is a very special day, because we are announcing to Kenya and the world that the World Rally Championship Safari Rally Kenya will be very exciting this year.
Kenya Motorsport Federation, KMSF, will receive 100 million shillings to facilitate preparations.
KCB must remain on the table. And if we are going to have the only rally in Africa, in Kenya, where it is London for KCB, then we must be at the forefront. Fighting for the brand Kenya and fighting for brand KCB is one and the same thing.
4 local drivers comprising Tinashe Gatimu, Karan Patel, Nikhil Sachana and Ifans Kavisi also got 23 million shillings for the competition.
This partnership with KCB has been instrumental in making the Safari Rally a world-class event, contributing to Kenya's identity as a motorsport destination, as a sporting destination, the impact we have in Naivasha, in Gilgil, in Nakuru, in Nairobi, at the port of Mombasa where all our containers come through, at the airport, is immense.
86 million shillings will be channeled towards fun experience and Refisha na KCB campaign, which aims to encourage saving culture among Kenyans.
Hopefully with the new stages that are there, we may be a bit more smoother.
Go to the spectator zones of KCB. I mean, absolutely amazing setup. Kuna nyama, kuna drinks, music.
The race will zoom off at KCSE in Nairobi on 20th of March and conclude in Naivasha on 23rd.
We do have a few more tests to do for the car. Of course, we have to change some oils and just the general servicing of the car.
Kallen Rovanpela from Finland is the defending champion of WRC Safari Rally.
Now, with 6 months to go until the 2024 African Nations Championship, that is CHAN, the tournament's local organizing committee has intensified preparations. This week, key officials toured Tanzania to benchmark facilities ahead of the competition, which will be co-hosted by 3 East African nations. Led by Chairman Nicholas Musonye and CEO Microbar, the delegation inspected stadia, hotels and airports, as well as other key infrastructure, many of which are nearly ready for use. The biennial tournament is set to kick off on August 2nd and run until August 30th of this year. A total of 19 nations will participate in CHAN, with Kenya drawn into a highly competitive group alongside Morocco, Angola, the DRC and Zambia.
Doko sana kama kupika rangi na kusafisha tu uwanja. So kwa hivyo hizi uwanja wetu wa Nyayo, uwanja wetu wa Kasarani na ile viwanja ya mazoezi ni kusafisha tu uwanja sasa. Tukijiandaa mwezi wa August. Mimi naona tukimaliza CHAN bila tumepatiwa muda wa mpaka August. Tukimaliza CHAN tutakuwa na muda mwingine ya miaka 2 ama mwaka 1.5 kujipanga kwa CHAN because AFCON ni kubwa zaidi kuliko CHAN. So hii ni kama rehearsal. So sisi kama wanachama wa East Africa pamoja CHAN na AFCON ni juhudi zetu kuona kwamba tumejiandaa sawa sawa. Hii iwe kama rehearsal ya kufanya ile mashindano kubwa ya AFCON.
Sports News brought to you by Maybets.
All right, as my director Nick Mavindi would say, it's a wrap. And my name is Victor Muyakane. On sign language, we had none other than Rodo Nyamai, and we, as well as the team behind us, say thank you for choosing us to inform you. Right next is your weekly sporting action, turbocharged sporting action, VAR, with the man we call Askofu. Good night and God bless.